Hey guys, how's everybody today? I'm back to do a vinyl finds video. It's been a couple weeks at least since my last one, and these are, I guess, mainly online purchases over the last, last couple months or so. Okay, I'm gonna start off with a few reggae classics. I'm gonna say definitely had a few reggae holes in my collection. Some of these I've had on CD for years, so I'm quite familiar with the albums, and they're all well-known reggae albums that I've wanted for quite some time. So I finally decided, okay, let me pick up some reissues of these because I just wasn't finding them out in the wild. So start off with probably my favorite dub reggae album of all time, the classic Augustus Pablo, King Tubby's meets Rockers, Uptown. So this is, and this is the original cover. I've had this on CD in expanded form for many years with an alternate cover. This is the original cover with Augustus Pablo on there and Haile Selassie just right there in behind him. So this is Augustus Pablo produced singles in the, I guess, early to mid 70s. And then Augustus Pablo and King Tubby did dub versions of these. Has all the usual dub effects, the emphasis on the bass and the drums, a lot of echo, sporadic horns, sporadic vocals. This is a dub classic. King Tubby's meets Rockers, Uptown. And I guess the title refers to obviously King Tubby working with Augustus Pablo on these dub versions. So King Tubby meets Rockers. Rockers, I guess, is the sort of affiliated name with Augustus Pablo, and Uptown, I think, refers to where the sessions took place or where this was put together. Another dub classic, probably my second favorite dub album of all time, we have The Upsetters, Super Ape. This, of course, is Lee Perry produced singles with his backing band, The Upsetters, and it's dub versions of songs that were produced by Lee Perry. On here, some of the more well-known songs, you have War in a Babylon by Max Romeo, which the dub version has been renamed Black Vest. You have some of Lee Perry's own songs, Curly Dub, which is a dub version of Curly Locks. What else do we got on here? Dread Lion, Underground, Croaking Lizard, which is an excellent Prince Jazzbo, who's a toaster, Jamaican toaster. This is excellent. This, I would say, falls just nearly behind the Augustus Pablo record, but this has a lot more vocals than the Augustus Pablo record. So if you're looking for dub with a few more or a lot more vocals, I would recommend this over the Augustus Pablo. Next we have Jacob Miller, Who Say Jah No Dread. This is Jacob Miller songs produced by Augustus Pablo from 1974 and 75. And then this compilation was put together with both the single version of those songs and then the dub version right behind it. So you got 6 songs where you have the single version and then followed right away by the dub version by Augustus Pablo. So I really like the way they've been sequenced in that way, rather than have one side of all the singles and then one side of all the dubs. It's a nice continuation of the single, the dub, the single, the dub, that sort of thing. So again, Jacob Miller, very famous reggae singer, was part of the band Inner Circle for a while before he died. I believe he died in 1980 in a car accident. But at one time it was said that Jacob Miller's popularity in Jamaica anyway was rivaled that of Bob Marley, and that's saying quite a bit. Next, another Augustus Pablo produced album. We have Hugh Mundell, Africa Must Be Free by 1983. Hugh Mundell, for those who don't know, was a very young reggae artist who made this album in, I think it was 1978, produced by Gustus Pablo. Hugh Mundell was 16 at the time. And you can hear it in the vocals. I mean, it definitely sounds like a 16-year-old, but excellent vocals, very much falsetto vocal, and the combination again with Augustus Pablo is fantastic on this reggae classic. And then the final one of the reggae classics, we have Junior Mervyn, Police and Thieves. This album from 1977, produced by Lee Scratch Perry. There's Junior Mervyn on the back. Produced by Lee Scratch Perry, and of course includes the massive single title track Police and Thieves, who some of you may know from the cover version, the very excellent cover version that was done by The Clash. I've been showing some Ween lately. My latest Ween acquisition is the Mollusc. This is Ween's album from 1997, and is probably up there with the top 3 Ween albums. The well-known song off of this is Buckingham Green, but there's a lot of great Ween songs on here. You usually find a lot of songs from this album on Ween fans' top 10 Ween songs of all time. The Mollusc. Actually, back to another reggae ska album. We have, what's this called? Rude Boy. This is on the Trojan label, as you can see there. I believe there was a documentary that was done on Trojan Records that came out in the UK. And this is, I guess, the soundtrack for that. And it's an excellent collection. I mean, there's some ska classics here that I first became aware of as they were done by many of the British ska bands, but these are the originals from the original artists. So we have things like Carry Go Bring Home, Carry Go Bring Come, Justin Hines and the Dominoes, which was a song that I first got to know by The Selector. We have Rudy, A Message to You by Dandy Livingstone, which of course I know the specials version. We have some other classics on here, 5446 by Toots and the Maytals, 007 Shantytown by Desmond Decker. What else do we have here? The Israelites by Desmond Decker, fantastic song. Monkey Man by the Maytals, which some of you may know the specials had on their first, their debut album. Fantastic version of that. So it's really cool to get the originals of some of these songs that I first became aware of through all the British ska bands who I love. And then an album, long time coming, Soft Machine Third. This is probably their highest rated LP, but it really depends on whether you like Soft Machine as more of a, a psych Canterbury band versus sort of a jazz fusion band. This is definitely leaning more on the jazz fusion. Their third album, Robert Wyatt, still in the band here. Let me just show you the picture, the band at the time. Robert Wyatt still in the band here, but definitely the role, at least on his vocals, was diminishing. There's only one vocal song here. There's only 4 songs on this album. Every song is a side long length song. And you have to sort of be into jazz to really, I think, like this album quite a bit. Robert Wyatt would leave after the very next album, which was an all instrumental affair. But usually on internet rating sites, this is rated typically as the highest rated Soft Machine album. But again, if you're more into Volume 1, Volume 2, which is definitely more in the psych vein, I don't know if you're going to really dig this at all. So that's Soft Machine. Then another jazz fusion album, we have Miles Davis, The Man with the Horn. I've had this on CD for years. This is Miles in the 80s, which is quite a different Miles than, you know, the hard bop or even the fusion of the early 70s, late 60s. This is very much Miles, still fusion, but in a more 80s style. You can definitely hear it a little bit in the drumming. This is mainly an all-instrumental affair, except for the title track, which has some terrible vocals on it. Don't know who's doing the vocals, but they're horrible. But the rest of the album is really, really good. And Miles is playing by this time. Miles always liked playing with a muted trumpet, but I found that on his 80s albums, he definitely even increased the frequency of that. So, but this is still quite an enjoyable album if you like Miles Davis. And I've been slowly but surely collecting Weather Report, and the latest edition is Sweetnighter, Weather Report. This is from 1973. Again, led by Joe Zawinul and Wayne Shorter, and the revolving cast of drums and bass players in the band. This is Weather Report's, I think, fifth album. They were definitely getting more funky and with more of a groove by this point. A lot less of the early Miles Davis Bitches Brew type of influence on here. But this is a great Weather Report. I mean, I don't have any Weather Report that I don't like, so I'm kind of biased when it comes to that. Next, another excellent fusion album. We have John McLaughlin. This is called Devotion. So this is John McLaughlin before the Mahavishnu Orchestra, I think from 1970-71. And this album plays a lot like, his playing on this is very Jimi Hendrix-like, with a jazz fusion influence in there. The band on this album, Buddy Miles on drums, Larry Young on organ, who is an excellent fusion organ player, and a guy named Billy Rich, who I don't know, on bass, if you can see back there. But I love this album. I heard some samples of it. I was unfamiliar with it, and I thought, wow, this is up there with some of my favorite Mahavishnu Orchestra stuff. And sometimes John McLaughlin solo albums can be a little bit hit and miss, but I think this came at the period where he was at his peak. And like I said, the best compliment I can pay him on this is this sounds like Jimi Hendrix with a jazz influence. The guitars are fabulous on this. I just love them, and I would put this up there with the Mahavishnu Orchestra's Inner Mounting Flame and Birds of Fire for sure. Devotion. Really happy to have that. I showed recently a They Might Be Giants album, and I made reference to this album, which I also just recently got. This is They Might Be Giants' album Flood from 1990. This is my favorite They Might Be Giants album, and probably their best album and most popular album. Includes the songs, well-known singles, Istanbul and Birdhouse in Your Soul. This is excellent, They Might Be Giants. I love this. 1990. And to end off with, I would call this a grail, but it's not one of the grails where you have it on your wish list for a long time and you're hoping, you're finding it. This is a grail in the sense that I didn't even know that this thing existed, but when I saw it, I didn't even have to think twice about it. And going back to the reggae, we have Bob Marley. This is a Wailers box set of 5 LPs that comes in this wonderful box. 5 LPs of all Wailers stuff that is pre-Island Records, and I do have a lot of Bob Marley and Wailers before Island. A lot of the Lee Scratch Perry work that Bob did with him. But this has a lot of that stuff, but also a lot of stuff that I didn't have. I was actually quite surprised at how many songs off of this that I didn't have. And I found this on Amazon, 5 LP box set for $56 Canadian, which I thought was an awesome price. So I didn't delay in getting this, and the thing literally came like the next day. So I am super pleased to get this. I'm always looking to add any Bob Marley to my collection, and because there was so much on here that I didn't have, there's a lot of dub versions on here, which are not as great as the Lee Scratch Perry or the Augustus Pablo that I showed earlier. But if it's Bob Marley reggae, I mean, I'm so biased when it comes to that, and I was super happy to get this. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.